What is going on, you tube world? Vinny. There's Steve. Steve wants to be in the bottom tonight because I don't know if he wants the controversy train to roll through. There might be some trepidation in Mr. Kretz' thought processes for tonight.
No, there is a method to my madness. I watched two things the entire weekend, so therefore I only have a few comments. Vinny came with notes because obviously he consumed quite a bit of it, which is good because it gives us stuff to talk about. So I only felt it fair that Vinny take the spot next to Dave, and I'll chime in as I see fit, and I will express some of my opinions of the way that it was managed and held and everything else, and we'll leave it at that.
And these were not spoken opinions between us. I mean, we said we watched whatever we watched, and it isn't going off on like, oh man, we got this going on, and we got that going on. We don't like this or we don't like that. It's like, no, we got we just said, here's what we did, here's what we saw, and that's basically been it. So it's not like
this was not pre-discussed.
No.
Whatsoever. We know what some of us watched, which we'll touch on those, in which all three of us watched certain parts of it, only to support others from that perspective.
Yep.
There is one that I still want to go back and watch, and that's the one with Andy and Carlos. It's on my watch later list. I still want to go back and watch it. I just haven't had a chance to do that. But when Vinny and I were sitting here chatting, and he brought out his notes and had some of his metrics and everything else, I'm like, okay, well, Vinny deserves to be in the second spot today, which means I get to talk less, which is even freaking better.
As the kids say, Vinny's done the work.
Correct. So let's see who we got already hanging. There was already quite a group here. Ty, Paul. Let's see. We got Big Scott in the house. We got Eric, who thinks his computer's broken. I told him it's probably best that it is.
Yeah.
Josh, good to see you, Josh. It's been a while. And then we've got, of course, Yannick. So, Bobby's here too. There's the good old Dr. Joe. So Joe, just an FYI, because Vinny sucks. Chasing the Hits next episode's probably going to be the first part of July. Well, it's going to be the first part of July because mine doesn't get here until July. So just FYI. Yeah, shut up, Dave. I know you already got yours because I tracked it too. But I'm a little bit further south. So
a couple miles.
Yeah, just a few. Yeah, be looking for probably a message from Vinny on that, and see if we can't get that ironed out and rocking and rolling. Maybe this weekend. Maybe this weekend we can do it, so it's not too far off. Since we were hoping to do it before the playoffs ended, but like I said, Vinny sucks. In all fairness, Vinny had a lot of stuff going on, and he knows I'm just giving. I'm kind of busting his balls, but life gets in the way. Shit happens, as we all know. So,
especially summertime too. It's just
he felt extremely bad. He's like, yeah, I'm like, dude, it's fine. I'm like, I'm gonna bust your balls about it because that's what we do to each other. But shit happens, and it's not like we have a definitive program and announcement to where on this date that's when it's not. We're not that corporate. We're ish. So it'll be June-ish. So we'll maintain brand and we'll still be good to go.
Yeah. It'll be ready because the draft's got to be coming up at some point here.
Yep. No, Scott, and that's one of the one of the main reasons why I circled back, I started watching Mike O and Ed's part of HobbyPalooza. And I got maybe 15, 20 minutes in, and I had to do some stuff around the house or whatever. So I went back and finished watching it. But in the meantime, we have a pretty good sized group chat, and he ended up mentioning that he gave us a big plug at the end. So I wanted to make sure I had a chance to see it, because man, that shit-eating grin on his face was priceless. I mean, that was priceless. So
yeah, we're not exactly revered by some folks, but that's okay. We've always said you don't have to like everybody in the hobby. You don't have to get along with everybody in the hobby. Let's say we're at a national. I'll shake your hand. I don't care if you're Carlos. I don't care if you're Steve. I don't care if you're Joey, Birdcat 8. I don't care if you're Paul. I don't care if you're Big Scott 35. Yannick. I don't care if you're Mike Baseball Collector. I'll shake your hand. I'm an asshole, but I'm not that big of an asshole. If I followed you, if I've watched something of yours, as somebody that's been doing this for just over 6 years, because YouTube started in 2016, it does take a lot to put yourself out there and either just show stuff or give an opinion. You just being on camera, that's one thing. Again, you'll just for that you'll get a handshake, because I know it's not. It took me a while to do the face stuff. If you go way back in the archives, you'll just see camera pointing out. Same with Steve. Just you're pointing at the. We didn't have like a tripod or anything to sit the cards down. We just here's the card in front of the camera, just because we didn't. You don't feel comfortable because it's a big jump. Kids, they now it's cell phones are in front of them all the time, so it doesn't matter. Old farts like us, that's a big step. I mean, we're used to the camcorder sitting on somebody's shoulder and acting a fool in 1992 or 93 or 89, whatever. It's completely different. So again, I know we get that rap, and that's fine. It's okay. Again, a lot of stuff that isn't for everyone, and a lot of it's out there. You don't have that rare. Ed's one guy. I love listening to him talk because he's got an interesting inflection on some of the words, and I love it. And it's almost like my ears pop out. I'm like, come hither with that pronunciation, please. And I love it. I love Ed though. That's what makes him fun. And then when he gets rolling, he's gotten better over the years with that, because he's another guy that initially forward facing camera. Then I'm not showing my face on video. Just and bringing that old school, as it were, aspect to the HobbyPalooza over the weekend, because there isn't a lot of that. That'll always be one of the top check marks in the minus category. It's a lot of new folks. A lot of not new to the hobby per se, but a lot of new quote unquote hate the term content creators.
Here's I'm glad that you brought this up, because I didn't want to call it out specifically. My take is that it's not necessarily the new people, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
My issue, and this is my whole issue, the way that this was ran this year. And if I were to be asked by anybody, with bench clear or anybody, I would say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it was mismanaged. I don't want to say that, because I will give Mike Baseball Collector a lot of credit. He put in a lot of time this weekend, a lot of time. And I can only imagine what that was like to put in that amount of time and that amount of effort. So I will give him mad props from that all day long, because that says something. He wanted it to go off without a hitch. Great. On the reverse side of that, I felt as though because everything was done on bench clear, it was being policed.
Yeah.
And when it's on that platform, then if this is supposed to build the community, it should have been the same way as it's always been. Mm-hmm. They publish everything. Everything should be done on everybody's independent channel. Therefore, they get the views, they get the subscribers, not bench clear.
Yes.
This should not have been a bench clear subscription and view gathering session. Mm-hmm. HobbyPalooza is about the community. Getting people to find other individuals, whether they're like-minded or not, is irrelevant. But it's to open your eyes and get, some visibility into some other individuals from a collector's perspective, and so on and so forth. But when you sit there and you have it streaming solely on one channel, to me, it defeats the purpose, because all those people who were part of HobbyPalooza are not going to reap the benefits of them watching those shows on their channel. Now, so if they wanted to do it like they did, they should have allowed everybody to do it on their channel, but then download it from YouTube and upload it into a HobbyPalooza playlist on Bench Clear Media's channel. Mm. Then you serve the purpose. You give the individual the views and the comments and the subscriptions potentially, but then you get the visibility aspect on the bench clear side to where it's in two places. So if only somebody watches bench clear stuff, they come across and like, oh, you know what? I like what this guy was talking about. Let me go check out his stuff. Mm-hmm. But to sit there and fully have it policed on bench clear really defeated the purpose of building the community. So that is my chief complaint about the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Because I truly felt like it was policed. Like nobody truly could feel as though they could. I don't want to say anybody was censored, but to a degree, maybe they were a little censored. Yes. Because they felt like they had somebody watching over their shoulders, which they did. Mm-hmm. And in those situations, I put it in this perspective. Could you imagine if the IRP was part of HobbyPalooza on Bench Clear Media? I don't know what we would have talked about. It probably would have been football 90s inserts related. We probably would have been showing off a lot of cards or whatever. But sometimes we have a tendency to go down a rabbit hole and we banter about nothingness. And Dave with his excessive profanity in certain situations. And then there are times in which I do the same thing. It happens. Yep. And to sit there, we would constantly be having to think about what we're saying. And then of course it wouldn't be fluid. It wouldn't seem like an IRP show. And that's the whole point of us having our show, because we get to say whatever the hell we want to say. And for those that we have on, if they want to say whatever they want to say, go for it. Yes. There are no censors here. Now, in the event that you want to go political or religious and stuff along those lines, then yeah, maybe we'll tell you, okay, well, time out. That's the only thing in which we may put our foot down. Yeah. But for the most part, it's free reign here. We want to give people the opportunity to speak about what they want to speak about and provide their opinions, whether it's with the group or against the group. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So
that was the first thing I noticed, because again, got down to Trista's, it was 5-ish maybe, Saturday. 5, well, maybe 6, somewhere in there. And so again, I missed 6, 7, 8 hours of stuff already. So I'm like, okay, I know from me, this is just me. I don't know some of the folks that were on. Again, it's not going to always be for, you can say it's, oh, I like him, I like her, I like them, whatever. There's some I didn't like. That's fine. I'm like, Andy's on. She blinded me with refractors. Like, okay, I'll watch him. Then I see Carlos is going to be on it, like, or he was on. Okay, that's going to be interesting. Pepino's on there. I think everybody in the community said it. You sort of have to be in the mood for him. I love Cesar. I love the energy he brings to the hobby, because it's not always about $25,000 fucking cards. It's about, hey, I'm a guy that likes the Dodgers, so I'm trying to put Dodgers team sets together. It's about 52, 53 tops, whatever he's got going on there. Stuff like that, the older sets that he really appreciates. It doesn't have to be a Gem Mint 10 condition type card. He loves cards for cards. But again, it's something I've got to be in the mood for. And right now, I'm not in the mood for any of that, because it's just, if I want that, unfortunately, I can go to work and get paid for it, because it's a zoo there and a lot of high pressure and excessive celebration situations. But when I saw it was all on bench clear, I'm like, Chris Stevens, like, that defeats the community aspect of it. You're not directing people to somebody else's channel to benefit them, which in turn, hey, you got 20 new subscribers out of this, sort of. I'm like, okay, maybe I don't want to say I feel forced to make a couple more videos or whatever, but at the same time, you're like, now I got a few more eyes coming my way. Maybe if I had something in the old vault that I'm like, I should do this, or I should show that off. You're like, okay, now I've got, quote unquote, a reason to do it, because people have sort of migrated over to my channel after being on. So that was the first thing, other than like looking who was on up to that point, which again, they've got the control to put whoever. That's on them. That's fine. Again, we can complain about that all day. You know I will, but it's at the same point, it's pissing into the wind. It's not going to affect anything. But just, I like the mix. I like a mix of, okay, you've got some folks that people may know. They're out there and they're highly visible, multiple thousand subscribers. That's sort of your draw in for the novice fan that at least has heard of some of these. You get some of your collectors, true collectors, that don't exactly have the brimming number of subs. So you get them some view play or whatever, airplay, then the views come over and then check out the channel. And then you get, like I said, some of the older sect. It's about an 85-15. When you hear people say, like, somebody that's been around for 6 years is an OG, like, do you watch videos? Do you know what YouTube? Do you have any clue? That's my 15%. That's my 15%. But then the other 85, it's like, well, if we did a little better job as a community, sort of to promote these people, we used to have it all the time. And that's sort of where, hey, the just because, when you actually had a just because come in, not, hey, Steve, you got 20,000 subs. I'm going to send you this so I get my name out there. No. Yeah. Here, here's some Jordy Nelson cards. Fucking go wild. No, it's because it's like, I know Steve likes player A, B, C, and D. He likes team E, F, and G. I'm going to send him a snap case of 50 cards, 10 in a card case, because, hey, they're sitting in one of the many warehouses. What good is it doing there? I see he's enjoying whatever those cards are. Send him there, then he says, man, I really like this. And then even if you have, let's say, 10,000 views on that, if you have 2% of the viewership say, you know what? I like that idea. That's the kind of person I'd like to at least go to their channel and be like, oh, what the hell you got going on there? If they're willing to give up that, and then on their note there's like just something sitting here, doesn't matter. You don't have to do anything back. I don't expect it. I don't want it. You know it's going to happen from guys like us. But they'll sit there and think, that's something I enjoy. That's a part of the hobby that's missing. Where you're not just sending a brick of 91 Topps base cards that have been sitting under your left cheek for support for the last 30 years. It's
why does it have to be the left cheek? Why can't it be the right cheek, Dave?
If you want to get political right now, let's go.
Or right down the middle.
Well, if it was right down the middle, there'd be fucking tiger marks on it.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I just.
So, again, a long-winded diatribe, which, again, if you're unfamiliar with this channel, I'm really good at. Everyone, all folks are good at as well. That I'm not going to take all the credit, but there's been times when I've looked at the clock, then I look again, I'm like, how did 25 minutes go by? How have I talked for 20 minutes?
So Bobby, I'm going to answer this question. And this, Carlos, since you were a part of it, I'd be interested to get your take. But I'm under the opinion that it gave them it's twofold. The ability to police it, first and foremost, plus they get new people into Bench Clear from a subscriber and a viewership perspective. I'm pretty sure Bench Clear is probably monetized as well, so they get to see some of that revenue. But the other one, and the positive piece is the super chats going for a good cause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This way, it was going to one place they could fully show and get totals and find out how much money was raised by the community for the cause. So, in past HobbyPaloozas, there's always been certain individuals that want to good deal. So I'm not off base. So I won't say that those are facts, but I'll still say that that's what I believe to be accurate. So thank you for that, Carlos. People, if they were giving stuff away or they were asking questions and that type of stuff, you could turn around and donate. Like, you could either take the money or the prize or whatever, or say, no, send it to wherever you want to donate it to. Mm-hmm. So year over year, some people have done that. So there's always that positive aspect to this. And I didn't watch. So I know that they had something yesterday, I think at 5:00 Central. And I think it was to run down everything related to HobbyPalooza. Not that I go to Bench Clear Media's channel, but I am interested to go watch it because I'm curious to know how much money was raised, and what they talk about as far as what they deem a successful run of HobbyPalooza. So, like I said, there's good and there's bad. It's one of those in which I still stand behind the fact that it should have been on everybody's independent channel, because, like I said, one of the main objectives is to grow the community. get people visibility that may not get visibility. But so Vinny, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you pulled data, not specific analytics, but I know you pulled some data related to the 2 days as far as view counts and everything else. So this was pretty interesting to me. So make sure you go off mute. I know you're trying to shoot the dog. But I'm interested. I'm sure a lot of people are kind of going to be kind of interested as that looks like. If we can get the dog to shut up long enough.
So as of today at 10:30 Eastern time, I think there for the 23 videos there were 17,427 total views. So if you divide that, you get 758 views per show out of 13,100 subscribers, roughly. If you do the math, that's like what, 6%? If my math's right, let me just make sure my brain didn't go goofy. 758 divided by 13,100. 58 divided by 13100. Yeah, like 6%, 6%, 0.057. So 0.58. So out of their viewership potential, only 6% of those people that's on their viewership watched. But when you think about the card community as it is, roughly there's probably about 700. 700 is a pretty solid number. Like some shows had more views than the other. Like the one dude, the LA Beast guy that was on there with Silver Jackify, Filmington, and New York Yanks fan 7, I think it is. He was, I think he's a professional eater type person that eats hot dogs and that kind of stuff. He ate a goat apparently, and lifted the curse of the Cubs, allegedly, hashtag. But they had like 2,100 views. So, but if he has like, I think they said he had like 3 million subscribers. So that's a lot. But I'm going to tell you something. That guy there, LA Beast, I think it was the LA Beast. That guy got some cool stuff. He's got like old boxes of cereal. He had the firehouse from the Ghostbusters behind him. If I'd have saw Mass Toys, Dave, I'd been like, there it is. But that he was like really interested in hearing the perspective of the shows because it's, he does baseball cards, but it's not his main thing. Like he has Nintendo tapes and stuff. But seeing he had Mike Tyson's Punch Out thing behind him, he collects the Nintendo. See, to me, that's all part of the hobby. So whatever it is, it's cool. Because as you know, on this channel, we're just not baseball cards and good looks. We're also annoying dogs sometimes. I digress, David.
I think I've ended up watching. I ended watching the Mike O with Edward. I watched Robert and Mr. Stove. What's going on, Mike? I watched a little of Jason in Sticks and Seams until there was a error in the verbiage. So I had to get out of there because again, after a long day of work, the verbiage has to be close to spot on, especially when you're speaking about odds and where cards come from. That, and especially the insert period. That it's something that I'm, again, a snob as it were, but there's stuff I've got to go back. I started watching Carlos and Andy today, got about 10 minutes in. So I'll finish that up. If not tonight, probably tomorrow night. There's a couple. I think it's, I don't know if Bowman. It wasn't Bowman 53. I don't think was on. Or was he? Which one? Yeah, Bowman 53. Not. There's another one that's on there as well as like a Bowman something from 51.
Bowman 51. There's a Bowman 53 and a Bowman 51. I forget which one was on too.
I don't mind, and I want to say his name's Alex. I could be wrong. I want to watch more of that because again, it was more vintage style, and again, I like the blend. I like the blend of topics where it isn't just about, hey, who's better, Soto or Acuna? There we are. I can picture them. One looks like B. Roth, and the other one looks like a slimmer me without glasses and a beard. So, yeah, exactly. And then there was another one. It was like what that 70s card show guy. I hadn't heard of any of those folks on there. But that's when I'll probably go back and take a peek at too, because I don't know any of them. Any of them. I looked and like I've never seen any of these people's faces on my computer, which I don't have, my phone, which I do have, or the TV, which I do stream the YouTube through there. I've never seen them, so that's something I'll go back and watch. The one, and again, for everybody personally, it's not going to be hits. There shouldn't be all misses either, though. Again, if you put this much time, effort, whatever the case may be, into putting this together, you're at least thinking you're not going to have everything be a grand slam. The one thing I really didn't go wild about that I can think of that I watched a chunk of, or at least fast forwarded to portions to see if it got better, was the dude that goes to all the card shows off everybody's dime. I didn't give a shit about that. That wasn't something that stuff is out there in hordes. All you need to do is type in card show recap and you'll see all these fellas. That's nothing I want to watch here. And again, I get where you want to have sort of connect the dots so everything is filled in, but at a local show up in the Northeast somewhere, it's like that's not really like the hotbed of where you want to get some dealer's intake. I should, Mike, but again, it's now when it's on the bench clear, you get to pick and choose who's on there as a host or whatever. Whereas before, I think that first year, I know it was either Mike O or Ed text. It's like, hey, if you want to be on that ending show, here's the link. I don't believe Mr. Moynihan is going to be sending me a link unless it's to like take a cyanide pill or something of that sort. That would be the gripe where it's like, hey, we're going along in the show, all of a sudden like hockey inserts come up. Like, fuck, get Vinny on here, get him on, he'll talk with us. Send him the link. No, now it's. I don't want to say because it's. I don't believe it is. Like the marionette. You're sitting there and you sort of have the control, the grid board or the computer board, and you can sort of have it as is, because I do see it, like as Steve said, from multiple points or multiple directions. It's like, okay, it's good on the one hand, you can have the control. There's fuckery or nonsense, you can pull the pin on all this stuff. And from last year, not to single out our good friends, Stove and Bob, when they had all their technical difficulties. Again, that's fine, because we know them to be a little on the slow side of technology, especially if it's a pair of headphones that are hanging as a wind chime in the back for Mr. Mark. But I get that aspect where you can sort of be like, okay, we can pivot from the train wreck, and it's not a boat going over swimmers near shore because somebody's drunk. It's okay, we're gonna pull the reins back on them. Whoever there might be whatever technical difficulties or whatever situation. I get that. And I get the fact that, okay, we hosted it for an hour or whatever. None of us, even if we had our own channel, could go on, because we don't have 1,000 subscribers, to get the super chats. We couldn't get that. I get that, and that's the signatures for soldiers. And we said it, I think, last year. I know I did, because that was one thing it was either here or in Carlos's show somewhere. This is why, in this world of technology, why can't you have a simulcast? And somebody else brought it up earlier. Don't ask me how. I'm not tech savvy in that regard. If you have it on Wesker Griff, Mike O channel, you have it on Bench Clear. This way, you sort of get like the dinner bell with 2-3 minutes left to go. Hey, let's wrap it up, or at least funnel people that want to go. Say, hey, here's what's next. Oh, next up, Andy, She Blind Music Practice is going to be on. Step over to that channel if you wanna. We're going to continue over here. If you leave, that's fine, because at the hour mark, that's where you can pick up this discussion. We might go another 5 minutes. We might go another 25 minutes. We might go another 2 hours. But you just hate to truncate, especially because some people aren't used to the live aspect of these streams. It takes a few minutes to start getting rolling, and especially if you haven't been on a bunch of them, the nerves to wear off. And again, depending on who you're on with, because you might say that I really appreciate whoever I'm on with, I really admire them. So you're sort of nervous because, again, it's if you haven't spoken with them much or texted all the time or any of that stuff, you're sitting there like, whew, let's go, let's have fun. But it may take 25-30 minutes to really get the wheels going, and then all of a sudden, shit, we're at 45 minutes in. Question is asked. It's like, we got 10 minutes to ask or answer this question, where it'd be fucking great to roll for another 45, because you don't want to prematurely end the discussion because those thoughts are fresh. It's like, okay, oh man, I got this, let's go, let's roll. I've been thinking about this, or that you put that somewhere again back in the vault, and that thing pops forward like, oh, good.
Well, and something else and Carlos, I'll kind of pose the question to you, and I'll send you the link a little bit later on, because you would be primed to be able to go through some of the other aspects because you got to experience it. But from like the comments perspective, when you have a stream and you're running the stream, and yes, Dave and I sometimes fight over highlighting and unhighlighting comments because that's what we do. But as a host, or a co-host for that matter, to not really have ownership of any of the comments or anything along those lines, to where go to sleep. Sorry, I was doing what Mark asked. But as a host, what's going on, Joey? Mark, not having control over the comments and being able to circle back, or sit there and highlight something that you want to focus on or talk about, having somebody else kind of do that, sometimes it takes away. We'll be the first ones to say we're not the best of addressing all the comments, but if there's questions and stuff, we try and go back and try and address those and everything else.
Yep.
Carlos touches every comment on every stream, and mad props. That's a lot of work, but he uses that as talking points and things along those lines too, which allows the stream to continue to go. As do we. The only difference is we don't read them all. That's not our thing.
Mm-hmm.
To sit there and be hosting a show or co-hosting a show to where you don't have the ability to sit there and be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, let's talk about that. If it's a free reign conversation talking about vintage or a vintage set or 90s inserts or whatever, if somebody puts something in there that's a valid talking point or a valid question that can really engage the conversation, to not have control over that kind of, to me, could impact the stream. It because you're not managing the full format and the flow from that. That's from just like from my thought process. Vinny, from your perspective, like I said, because I know you consumed quite a bit more so than what Dave and I did. Did you? I mean, some of the hosts not being able to have ownership of the comments. Did you notice any situation in which that seemed like it was actually a detriment to what was being discussed?
I think if everybody had more time, the shows could have went different, but they tried their best. My first observation overall was the people that were missing. So, like I wrote down Jericho, IMI, B Ross 6, those back pages, Bart, Alico 3, Canadian Cards, I wrote some of the other Hall of Fame people that are in, that have disappeared off the face of the earth. But especially like Alico, who's one of my favorites, which everybody knows. And Bart, I like Bart's style. Those kind of staple guys, to me, I like seeing them, that's one of the things. Then, everybody was given good information. One funny thing was I was watching the 90s insert guy, and he was using trading card database to show cards, which was cool, so they could see the cards in the set. But he didn't know about the PMGs when he was talking about it, that 90 were red and then the first 10 were green. Just watching, somebody in the comments jumped and said, well, this is how they're numbered. So the good thing is, if you don't know something and you put it out there, somebody, like a Dave or somebody that has the experience could jump in and help you out. Because if you think they're cool, that's great. Same thing with like the Fisher bike one, and it's something seems. They did a 90s insert, talked a lot about a Pacific, a lot of the EX to credentials, that kind of stuff. So that was nice for people to see, but it's often those obscure stuff, like we did the artist proofs episode, that people don't get to see. But they showed some obscure stuff on there. I don't think a lot of people know about, linchpins. we know it's not common, but we know of them. But they showed some stuff that I haven't seen in a long time that sparked my memory, which was good. Pretty darn knowledgeable about stuff, so that was good. There was stuff like Tyson about the card market, ultra modern prospecting type deal. That stuff's good for if people are into that, it's good. Like I said, the Ryan from Breakout Cards was live for the New England Card Show. He has that book about the fakes, which is a pretty good thing out there because he has a wide knowledge of vintage stuff. Because I bet he's under 30. I'm not sure how old he is, but his knowledge of that stuff is his wheelhouse. And I mean, he's been at shows where he's found fakes. So to be live at a card show, that's something different. To have, at least on this platform, some people might not see that. Is that out there everywhere? There's a lot of it. But from his perspective, it might be a little bit different. There was the sets that make you. That was Diamond Yard, Field of Dreams. I think Dave Field of Dreams and Elite Hunters. I've watched Elite Hunters stuff before.
It's Don Field of Dreams.
Don, thank you. So that was good. I like looking at those older sets, and they even were talking about a early '80s set. I got to rewatch some of the stuff because you get busy in the middle of it and you don't get it all. But that one was a pretty good one, talking about the different sets that they really are passionate about. What else we got here? Ziggy's thing. You could be a poor man with a lot of knowledge, or you could be someone with a lot of money and have no knowledge. I watch a show anytime in the past 90 episodes, whatever we're on. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of dough, but don't have a lot of know. And he made another comment: was the hobby healthy before all the shenanigans? So, with all the spikes in 2021 with the pandemic and all that, was the hobby in a good position to take off the way it did, or did the pandemic to the moon, as they say? So that was some interesting thoughts.
That's a loaded question, though, because that can go a multitude of different directions.
Correct the Monday.
And honestly, outside of it, and yes, I'm going to plug Carlos just because, Carlos #scholarship would be the one who would put forth the effort and do the research. He wouldn't just claim a bunch of crap. But anybody could say that the hobby was healthy or not healthy and base it on things that may or may not impact what dictates a healthy environment as it pertains to the space. But, as we all know, this is cyclical. It's always been cyclical. It's never going to change. It has its ups and downs for a multitude of reasons. But to sit there and pose the question that is very loaded of what does it matter if it was healthy or not to dictate the spike? Does it really, does it matter? The hobby doesn't have to be healthy to dictate a spike. It doesn't have to be unhealthy to dictate a spike. There's a multitude of factors that come into play with all that. And honestly, at the end of the day, do most of us really give a shit whether it's healthy or not?
It was just an interesting question that popped up.
I don't disagree. It's like that. That's a very loaded question.
Yeah, and there was, somebody mentioned about PSA collector disappearing off the face of the earth, or whatever he is, graded card collector now. So it's been about 7 months since he did a video. Just looking through all this. Here's a fact check or one, guys. Was 91 Donruss Elite the first numbered card? And for some reason, it's like it's the most popular one, but I thought that wasn't the 92 hockey with the Orr autograph and score. Weren't those hand numbered?
You had the upper deck, what would have been the Legends or Heroes of Baseball, whatever I don't think 89 had it, but 90 and 91, at least 90 did. And I don't remember who the player was.
Yeah.
But those were hand numbered autographs.
I can't remember if it was Jackie or was it Hank Aaron. And then I know Nolan Ryan had something in that vicinity too. I was just curious because that popped up and that said to me, that's the most popular, but something in my head said, I think there's something before that. Oh, Reg Jackson.
Because it was like Reggie Williams, I think was 92, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember the packaging on the foil packs in the box.
And then they did mention the first acetate cards. People got it right. It was Collector's Choice. So I thought about you, Dave, when they made that comment. So I think a comment was made was Pinnacle and Fleer, Pinfleer. Pinnacle and Fleer, really put the hammer to Pacific for their business. I'm like, yeah, Pinnacle was out of business and so was Fleer by 98, right? So from 98 to 2000.
Fleer's bankruptcy was later.
Was it? What year was Fleer?
03?
Yeah, early 2000s. Early 2000s.
Okay. Then Fleer might have still been hitting Pacific, but I know they said Pinnacle was really hitting on Pacific. I was like, well, the dude from Pacific was the guy that was a Pinnacle and they were out of business. So I'm just a curious comment. Not that it's wrong. It's just, it was an interesting comment just to go through it and like dissect it to see the different things about it.
But that could be also opinion based depending on what they were basing that comment on. Was it set design, insert design? I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, there's always the possibility that there would have been that sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Competition, I guess. But at the same time, that's an opinion-based sort of statement anyways, because it's hard to justify without having the facts. Now, to ask the question to Jeff, who worked for both Pinnacle and Pacific, that could be an interesting conversation component to ultimately see if that were in fact the case. But still, even then, it would still be based on his experience. So whether or not it's truly factual or not, that's debatable. So, but yeah.
Go back, Vinny. What did you say about acetate? I swore I heard Collector's Choice.
It was classic. It was classic, not Collector's Choice. I wrote Collector's Choice for some reason, like because I'm a moron.
I was like,
no comment, wife.
I'm like Collector's Choice acetate. Like,
yeah, not a thing.
No, it isn't. It was classic. I don't know why.
Sure that you weren't checking facts and then espousing lies on top.
Yeah, thank you. It was classic. Definitely don't want to do that. There was one with these 4 guys. I think it was from Sports Card Nation. Most of those guys were really, they were like 50-50. They were PC guys, but they sold stuff. So, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But they made a good comment. When you're passionate about collecting what you love versus people just looking at the numbers and, staring at charts and graphs, it's easier to hang out for us to hang out with people that don't look at the charts and graphs versus the people that just solely, like, if you do look at charts and graphs, I look at charts and graphs all the time. But when it comes down to it, if the old gut tells me to do something, I'm going to go with the old gut. But it was an interesting comment because, if you put me and say Sasha T in a room, it's going to be a hard conversation because I could understand his perspective.
Yep.
Got it down, understand what he's doing. And if I wanted to do that, I could do it. No hard end to it. To him, it's a business. I respect it. It's what you do. But to me, I'm a collector first and foremost. Do I want to move cards or trade cards to get what I want? Yep. But he doesn't have that emotional tie to the cards like I do. Do I ever want to sell my Lemieux collection? I want that to be passed down to my grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren if it could help. If not, I'm dead in the ground, so have at it. But I'd like to keep the museum going. And with C, she's the museum type, so I hope that trait holds.
Dave, sorry, Vinny, real quick.
Go ahead.
Joey's comment, and he mentioned Collector's Choice, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Collector's Edge was the first one that advertised it, early 91 or 92.
92 Collector's Edge was the one that was up, and I don't remember the exact descriptor for it. It was like poly something or something where it was like that plastic where you could just sit there. I mean, if you were like, you took the card like this and went like that, it would break or bend. But I mean, if you just did hey, here's the Bounty and here's like the generic brand, you could tell, you could do that and it'd go right back. Like a Twinkie, the old Simpsons episode. Homer smashes a Twinkie, squishes it up, turns it. Apu, you can't do that. A Twinkie doesn't like lose its form and then puts it right back to normal. It's sort of in the same vein. But yeah, Collector's Choice was just I don't even know what the low end of the Upper Deck product split, which later turned to be like MVP, which went to UD Choice, which then went back, I think, to UD MVP.
So we're now going to bring in expert opinion. Hello, expert opinion.
Well, howdy. I bet you guys had doubts with me, but I finally got everything situated, and I can close out the show. How about it? So I was hearing a little bit of the discussion from Vinny, and just kind of going through the channels. How much of that did you guys watch? These are probably questions you guys have all answered, but
2. I've watched 2, and there's only one other one that I'm going to watch.
Well, all right. So I checked in on a couple here and there. It really just wasn't a good weekend for me to sit down and watch a lot of YouTube. I was pumped for our hour, but then as it approached, it was kind of like, I think we're overthinking all this, instead of just sort of winging it. We kind of wanted to be a little bit prepared, but yeah, it is what it is. I truly don't know how we keep getting the invite back, but it was fun. It was fun. It felt good to kind of jive with Mark again, get those creative juices flowing, to just think of basically a lot of other videos that I'll never do, basically. So
I watched you guys. Like I said, I watched 10, 15 minutes of Carlos and Andy. I got to go back and watch that. I did watch the full Maiko ending with Eddie. I think first 25 minutes or so at Trista's. Then I had to come back because, again, waking up at 2:30 for work on a Monday and traveling an hour, it's just not. Love the time with
I didn't win
time.
anything. I only had 2 entries into the contest, but they did that earlier today or yesterday, I think. I don't know. Do you guys know the Channel 4 Leaf Cards, Eric? Great guy, super guy. Like, go to bat for you, like the friend that you could call at 3 a.m. if you needed somebody, basically like you guys. But he was just balling, donating like $100, and he donated $100 on our stream, and it wasn't about that. He really appreciated the cause, but he won like 3 boxes, including the big Prism Football hobby box. So it's kind of nice when you see, you make it worth
That's cool.
Yeah, I saw him throwing. I'm like, that's awesome. That's, again, it isn't just I'm throwing out $100 and now follow me, give me subs. It's like, no,
Yeah, right.
You believe in the cause, and that was a good part. I mean, that I won't take away ever from that, especially soldiers. It's at some point we're going to talk about that. We went, not to jump quickly off subject, we went to the Vietnam traveling wall Sunday morning because it's over in Trista's hometown there. And wow. If you get a chance, please don't say you're too busy. Don't say. We were there, and again, I don't have anybody that was KIA in Vietnam. I think everybody from like the family was Korea or back. So, but just going through, they had a trailer there. Oh fuck, that you were gonna get dick kicked because I was balling at a couple things that they had there, and I mean, I don't even want to talk about it because I know it's gonna instantly like jar those. So I mean, for somebody that doesn't have like the personal connection to that, I mean, I don't know. For 4-Leaf to do that, and again, just it's a worthy cause. It's, again, the ears are burning. It seems like anytime we talk about somebody that,
hey,
boom, they're there. So it go see those memorials, pay your respects, not only on the days of quote unquote remembrance, because that every day should be a day of remembrance and being thankful. But yeah, that when you have anything for soldiers like that, I'm always on board with that, because that's something we have to do, is support them, especially over the years, that generation, because they went to war for a war that nobody wanted, and they came back and they were treated like dog shit. So I mean, to see them finally getting some of their just due, albeit far too late, for a lot of them, help wise and then health wise, it at least, I don't take some solace in that, which whatever that's worth. But I mean,
so I had 2 things. You know, it's I respect the whole aspect, and you know, the whole giving during the entire, you know, HobbyPalooza. Bob, do you know how much money was raised by chance?
I think they said a little like 2,300 or close to it.
Which is awesome in itself. If you think about it, you know, 25 hours, 24 hours worth of live streams, that's basically $100 a show, which, you know, you what more could you ask for in that situation? And, you know, like Dave said, from a military perspective, I come technically from a military family. My grandfather was in World War II. My biological father was in Vietnam. My stepdad was in Vietnam, and my best friend neighbor across the street was also in Vietnam. So, you know, Vietnam is I don't want to say close to my heart, because I see and continue to see what it does to my friend across the street. My stepdad refuses to talk about it. Not sure why. You know, a lot of them don't, but you know, my best friend went through therapy and everything else, so he talks about it from time to time, and that's part of the healing process, of course. Sadly, my father, you know, he came back really screwed up, and you know, it ultimately, I can't put all the blame on the like the PTSD and everything else, but he died a very young man. He wasn't even 55 years old. So, and no, it was not from suicide. It just, you know, he was messed up. And I'll leave it.
I think a lot of those guys just carried a weight on them that you couldn't really explain to anybody except another vet. So those guys kind of stuck together.
Well, I mean, he was a medic, an Army medic. So you can only imagine. So I'll leave it at that. You can think what you want, or have visualizations of what you think that would have been like, but I could only imagine. So it royally screwed him up mentally, and then some. But it was cool to see 4-leaf cards, because I saw the $100 donation on y'all's, and then he dropped 40 on Ed and Mike's, I think, and he's like, "Sorry, man, I'm out of." I blew my load this weekend, but that was awesome, and
I know one guy, I think Wade Boggs fan John, or it was definitely a John, but he made a point to go into everybody's stream and at least donate like $5 or something. So people were into that part of it for the right reasons, I believe. I mean, there were some decent prizes too, but
which is what I thought was cool even last year. When everybody had their stuff on their own channels and everything else, there were a lot of people who were doing giveaways in certain aspects or components, but you had the option to basically say, no, donate it to the cause that you have, because some people came in with causes and donation outlets, and everybody had the opportunity to pick where they wanted those to go. Not that this was a bad thing, because that it was freaking awesome. I don't want to take away from anything that was accomplished in the cause in which they selected to donate the funds to. Any sort of community aspect of donating to a cause, I think, no matter how big or small, says something about the community as a whole, that we can have a tendency to pull together and do things and donate to a cause, and we're a small niche, and the fact that so many people can come together and still donate almost $2,300 or whatever, that's freaking phenomenal.
I don't think I did a $20 donation, and then I did a $20 donation, but then but I don't even remember what stream it was in. So it's not like, well, I'm only gonna do it in I think it was the Retro Hoops guy. That was one. I caught a little bit of him. I caught a little bit of Alex and Reese, Alan, and Nina. I did catch a little bit of Mike and Ed. A little bit of Eric and Scott, and just kind of popped in and out of different people's streams like throughout the day at just random times, waiting at the grocery store or whatever. But what were you? I mean, overall opinions, like it does morph a little bit every year, and people are we have opinions. We it was better last year. It was better the first year. It was more grassroots. It's so corporate now. Like these are all thoughts I've had now, too. But if you get past all that sort of nonsense, because I don't really even know anything about the ins and outs of it all. I got an hour, tried to make people laugh or entertain for a little bit, have some fun with some fellow collectors, and move on. Well, as much as an elite YouTuber like myself can just move on into normal society.
Yeah, we'll leave that statement alone, Bob. We'll let that one marinate a little bit. No, the biggest thing. Sure, if you got a card, show it off, Bob. Why not?
I am trying to get these in a run of some sort. This is the 2008 Elite Status to 24. Right there. So nice. I picked up a couple. I have probably 6 or 7 now, mostly in the Patriots uniform. Man, those are nice.
Oh, wait till you go back and you're able, if you can pick up like the 2000 Oh my God, we're gonna be.
So is that the ones that are numbered? Well, I know the statuses are all numbered to the jersey, but is that the gold sort of one, or is that 2001?
Oh, when did they start those?
I gotta look now. Wait,
I think 2000,
I'm sorry, I just crushed the flow of the show.
2003ish maybe. I think they may have started. Again, I haven't. We talked about it last week. I had to go buy it immediately because I was that pissed off. So it's still in the cellophane. But the status is the number, the jersey number, and the aspiration is the minus 100. 100 minus the jersey number. That's the aspiration. So if the jersey
Oh, I
number,
didn't know that.
yeah, because they're all, it's a total print run of 100 and whatever. I don't even know how many years, because what Elite or Donuts went up, what 05? Because I don't remember if,
Don't give me the lion.
because I know baseball got 05. After 05, they were done because they had the big one of the sets has a big sticker done. But I don't remember if football carried through. Anyway,
Hey.
but yeah, like his status would be 84 for the Vikings, and then his aspirations would be 16.
16.
Because I know that's made some trouble for the Josh McCown collection. That his collegiate jersey number I think was 3. So there's 3 copies of the status or whatever it is. So I'm like, that's it makes it tough on a player collector to do that. And then there's this guy.
How's it going?
Glorious.
Glorious.
Yeah, exactly.
Good
Well,
choice of words, Dave.
Yeah, well, look, you got Bob Lewis on, so he's expert opinion now, and he's hailing from Finland. What more do you want?
Yeah, and Chair is somewhere in the picture. I know.
That's what I mean. Like Bob left the big man in charge, so the chair is now in charge. So this live stream got like 80% better already. It's fantastic. I did laugh though, and I will say Steve hit the nail on the head on a couple of his takes about it. But I kind of wanted to chime in because I think we'll talk about it on Friday. But I wanted to but honestly, I think the majority of the Friday is going to be me making fun of Eric because focus. Their priorities, man. Their priorities. July the 1st is like the most important day of the calendar for Eric. All his predictions have centered on July the 1st. This week and last week, I have had no time. Otherwise, I would have prepared a beautiful video package encompassing all his predictions leading to this moment. So it's like, I expect blood in the streets. I expect zombie apocalypse. I expect nuclear holocaust. And anything short of that, and this man will be roasted for hours. Not that I would do something like that. It will hurt me inside to do it. But I have to. He promised us so much and fell short. And failed. Spoiler, he failed. But the point is that then I must spend the next several hours roasting this man. As the hobby gods intended. And this is just how it has to be done.
But at least you'll do it to his face.
Oh,
100%.
Oh, 100%. I warned him already a couple weeks ago. I go, I got some special stuff planned for you, July the 1st. Oh, do I have stuff planned for you? But but the point is that Steve did hit the nail on the head. But I will say, and I think this is due to it being kind of a one-man show with the way that Mike was doing the moderating. I think there was a lot of shifting parts. So this is just the impression that I got. I wasn't going to be a part of HobbyPalooza as of the beginning of my live stream on Friday. Through my live stream on Friday, I was not going to be a part of HobbyPalooza. My live stream goes past midnight. I was not part of HobbyPalooza. Minutes into midnight on Saturday morning, I was asked by Andy if I would join him on the thing for HobbyPalooza. So I didn't know about it until the live stream was basically over. So it was I didn't, and by the way, minutes before we started, I also don't know what the hell we're talking about. So there wasn't any programming. So I laughed because Eric after goes is like, "How long did you know about this? You didn't tell any of us." It's like, I didn't know. I had no idea. And what I'll say about that is this, and I took a little snippet that you can kind of tell. Because during the recap show, Mike made reference to it, and I think it was kind of a special occasion because Andy is a good buddy of his, obviously. So I think he had a little bit more leeway than most. Mike was very surprised I was on there. I can pretty much assure you that it was not part of the programming. I don't think it was discussed beforehand. I don't think any of it was discussed beforehand. I think it was pretty much like, oh, by the way, I've sent Carlos the link. I got the link from Andy. That's where it came from. So I just want to make clear. I want to make clear.
Classic case of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, yeah. But that's why that little snippet from the wrap-up show made me laugh because Mike was talking about Andy, you know, and they're good buddies, and then he just goes, yeah, and he had on because of Carlos. The look on his face and the sound was just glorious. I just loved it. Now, and the timing worked out fortuitously because Andy's live stream was right before the wonderful 1 hour infomercial for a third-party grader that, you know, no one's ever heard of. It's never come up before. And I will tell you two things. Number one, we weren't the only ones who were absolutely like, really again with the stupid infomercial, really? Even some people involved with HobbyPalooza were not that keen on the infomercial and called it out as an infomercial, maybe before we went live. We're even in the same vein, like, this is dumb, this is an infomercial. And secondly, I got messages from people that caught that as we were, you know, signing off to roll over. If you catch, so Dave, you'll catch it at the end. Catch the end when Andy politely, you know, says the rollover for the next one. Look at my face and watch the eye roll. And people caught that and they shot me a message. I saw your eye roll. It's like, what do you mean? I'm very excited by the wonderful next live stream coming up.
Too bad you could have been able to pipe in. And up next, the floating head.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I was relatively speaking well behaved. All things considered, I behaved. But listen, there was a lack of faith. I sensed a serious lack of faith in my behavior. I was like, I can be professional. What the hell, man? I was even nice enough to go outside canon, you know, in the trout discussion. Like, what y'all want from me? It's not canon, so it doesn't count. So if anyone references it ever again, it's like it didn't happen, just to be clear. But, you know, it is what it is. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's one I haven't had a chance to go back and watch because I have been the first one to say it. I am not hiding it. I have been in a hobby funk for some time.
Mm-hmm.
My watch later list continues to grow and grow and grow. But, you know, it's not that I don't like any of these people or want to watch what they put out there. I don't want to watch anything. So it's like I've only hyper focused on, I was there for Bob and Mark's live because I felt obligated because, you know, Bob had to throw it in the big chat. So it's like I felt obligated I had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was.
Yeah.
I caught the first part of Mike O and Ed live. And then, you know, because it's the weekend, I had stuff I had to do. So I finished watching that at the very end.
Yeah.
Or later on that evening. And, you know, I brought it up earlier. The plug for the IRP from Ed and the facial expressions was like golden. I mean, that was just flawless.
Yeah.
It put a smile on my face, so I couldn't help but chuckle.
Yeah.
But
I think it also plays into what I said earlier is that even though Mike was doing the moderate, like for ours, it was particularly unique because Mike actually wasn't there the whole time. Andy makes reference to it. Yep. Mike actually had to step out. So truthfully, we were on our own without any moderation, even to the sense that we couldn't have anything. We couldn't even ask for something to be put on the screen. So we actually had to monitor it ourselves. Now, fortunately, I've been doing it a while. Andy was fairly comfortable with it. We were able to look at it. So like we adapted. It was fine. We were still able to acknowledge folks in the chat and stuff and still have a conversation. But again, you can't just have two people cold go on there who have never spoken with each other because I've at least talked to Andy off and on, offline and stuff. He and I get along pretty well. So that's why I say, like, I kind of Trojan horse my way in, but I also didn't ask. But I was asked, and I told Andy, I go, you're one of the few people who can ask, and I will agree to do it. Because it was literally last minute. It was like, I got other stuff to do on Saturday, but I'm like, oh, what the hell? Oh, come on. And I also don't know what the topic is. I don't know what we're talking about. So, but I can do it. So cold, no control over chat, no ability to get anything on, and we were able to do an hour, no problem.
Mm.
So... because it's a warm up for me, realistically.
That's what I thought your eye roll was at the end. That it was like what, an hour? Like
it was both. It was both, Bob. It was both. It was both.
Yeah,
also knowing what came next. Yeah. Also knowing what came next. But the way you know, like I said, because of that, there's no coordination. There's really there was really no way, because even if you wanted to plan something, and you know how you know that there wasn't any like premeditation coordination on any of it, You can take Bob and Stove's cardboard. Stove was literally trying to kill the stream. The Roe v. Wade line was basically to get it cut. And it sits there awkwardly for about 10 seconds, and he basically has to say, cut the stream. It's like, I don't know what bigger hit. He doesn't actually want to talk about Roe v. Wade. He's like, cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's about as good a signal as they can get. So it's one of those things. If it had been coordinated ahead of time, you would have actually gotten the stream cut off right at that moment. But because it wasn't coordinated, it was sated, and now everybody's staring at each other going like, why is the stream still live?
That's pretty much on brand for us, though.
That is true. That is true. So I think it would have worked out that way. But I think if there had been any suggestion, I don't think you could have run anything by Mike though. It would have been one of those things where it's like, no, we're just gonna do what's gonna happen. But it was also at the end of the show, so I did enjoy that Mike got to be a bit of a jerk with the scrolling ticker. So that was kind of fun.
We got kind of yelled at because we didn't have the right link to start the stream, so it was like 3 or 4 minutes before our go time, and we weren't in the lobby yet.
Do you feel like it hindered the professionalism of your presentation?
Yeah, right from the get-go, we were just off because of that scolding.
I sensed it. I really sensed it threw you off your game.
So that's why we went big for the thank you, kind of to give back. The whole phone thing was Stove in the beginning-ish. I was probably talking too much, and people couldn't hear what he was trying to. Could you hear what he was doing? Talking
bits and pieces, but you couldn't get all of it.
I just assumed that disruption not only threw off that stream, the after party on the channel that Stove tried to do by himself. I feel like the carryover. You were distraught. So the canon now for me is that you were too distraught as an artiste. It offended your sensibilities, and you simply couldn't be seen at that moment.
That was a big fail on my part.
But it made it really funny.
Okay.
I even took pity on friggin' Stove. Like it killed me. I was sitting there watching. It's like I actually clicked on his little link. I wanted to see if he was on it because it's like, I'll walk you through how to kill this stupid stream. You have to kill it and turn on the StreamYard separately. You should start from the StreamYard. It makes your life easier. If you try to do it through YouTube and then try to start up a StreamYard, it's not gonna just flip the switch. It's not gonna do that. But it was kind of funny, just folks still hanging out in the chat, kind of talking while it was frozen with a spinning thing.
When I finally got my stuff together, it was about midnight, and I saw that he was live, just kind of sitting there. But it was only like 4 seconds of a video that then went like black.
It was because it was stuck in that spot. It was stuck right at that spot where I think he turned off his computer trying to kill the stream. I was like, that's not going to do it. He's a
little rusty, as we all were.
Yeah. So like I said, my excuse is that you were so thrown off by the tongue lashing you got early that it just disrupted everything else. It all went to hell after that.
Yeah, hopefully Stove does some kind of supercut of the highlights. That was funny with the first year that he did that. I don't know if anybody wouldn't watch that.
Yep. I'll say one thing, though, where Mike is saying, I will say that Jeremy has claimed that he is not invested in tag, but I go, if you're not, then this was the dumbest thing you've ever done. Because you had 1 hour on somebody else's channel, and you literally brought over an infomercial to somebody else's channel with like a charity element into it all. It's like, couldn't you have come up with something resembling original programming? Anything. Show off some cards, take some question and answers, anything else. But another freaking tag video after 8 hours of tag videos and another 2 hours to come. It's like nobody on earth wanted to see more tag.
Yeah,
no one cares.
That was kind of my thought process. It's like you've had them on the last few freaking, live streams of his, and it's like, okay, at what point is enough? What purpose does it serve? And it's one of those in which he can claim all he wants to, but I'm willing to bet he's going to get a sponsorship, which is why he's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's the thing, that's his business if he wants to do it, but it's so overt and over the top where he can't even complain that anyone questions it because you took it outside of your channel. So kind of reverse of what Dave said earlier. Exactly. He took it outside of his channel into somebody else's channel to use their viewers and their existing, viewership that they're going to bring in to then promote a thing that you're saying you're not promoting, but you literally created a promotion for it. It's like, I joked, it's like, I literally said, well, before we started our stream, which was before theirs, I said, I hope he's cutting you a check. I would charge him for the ad time.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's doing it on your channel. It's like, if that's the case, it's like, well, you cut a check then. I don't care who pays for it. The tag guy can pay for it. Jeremy can pay for it out of pocket. But you're asking for ad time. Normally, when you get an infomercial, you have to pay for that.
There you go, Carlos.
Can anybody in a sentence, like, what differentiates tag from anybody else?
In one sentence, they claim patents that allow their enhanced digital to do it almost fully automated. Another AI attempt, basically. Does that help?
That is.
And 1,000-point scale.
And 1,000-point scale, yes, because 100 points is not enough. You can have 1,000 points and 5 subgrades and 1 grade out of 10 because 6 grades on your slab is what you want.
What's the
okay? Hold on. Time out. Can you repeat that, please?
So on the front of the slab, okay, on the front of the slab, you got 4 subgrades, all 1,000-point scale, 4 subgrades. Then there is a 5th subgrade, which is supposed to be some kind of algorithm amalgamation of all that crap. And depending on where that one falls, then there's a 1 to 10 scale beside that. So there are 6 numbers on that thing. 5 of numbers that are up to 1,000, and a 6th number that is a more traditional 1 to 10 scale. And there's even a break. Like, I literally showed it on the screen last live stream, and we all just had a good chuckle about it. So you'll be happy to know, though, if you get a tag 10, there are 50 variations of a tag 10. If we just take the 1 subgrade into account, not even counting the other 4 subgrades, which, by the way, in case you're curious, provides over 1 trillion permutations. You'll be happy to know there's 1 trillion permutations.
So help me understand why that makes them better than anybody else. Oh, wait, it doesn't. Let's just convolute and complicate shit even more.
Yeah. And on the last stream, we had fun because Jay, who is a lawyer by trade, who has some understanding in patent law, he was taking a look at it, and he had questions about how really defensible that patent is. He is of the opinion that a decent lawyer worth their salt could probably challenge that patent pretty easily. Just throwing it out there. He had stronger words behind the scenes, but let's keep it light at saying he feels that a lawyer worth their salt could probably challenge those patents pretty easily. They're not as ironclad as I think the tag guy thinks they are. Just put it that way.
And what's the cutoff for the year? Didn't somebody say they're not grading anything before 2000?
That is correct. They will not grade. They're grading 2000 to present only, and they will only do up to 35-point scales. So your RPAs are out. Anything before the year 2000 is out. They don't plan to do vintage yet because it's not high enough ROI. So, but as you slowly chip away at things that would actually make you money.
So they're focusing and I'll use the wrong terminology, but I'm gonna throw out. Mm-hmm. They're still focusing on modern, ultra modern, which to a degree is a very finite. It's not a finite, but it's still a very small subset of the entire gambit of what cards are out there.
Yeah. Well, the one advantage, the advantage of going modern is that every year there's more product made. So from that perspective, it makes sense. More potential gradable cards get made every single year. So that is true. You are limiting yourself, though. And I think the reason they're limiting themselves, this is my opinion, is because, again, I kept it really high level because to Bob's point, I would bore people with a lot of the details. I have to read that crap so that you don't have to. So I'll give you the shortest version I can. The other piece of the puzzle is that the way they tried to do it is in order for, because remember, it's a 1,000-point scale, and they're using an algorithm to try to figure out where it falls and find flaws and do all this stuff, right? But the way you have to do that is you have to begin, their method, quote unquote, is to start off with an idealized version of what that card would be. So they have to generate what would be a perfect version, even if it doesn't exist. They have to come up with a card that is perfectly centered, no flaws on the surface, whatever. And even if they have to make it up, then you can compare your other card to this and find how many flaws you find on it and then start taking away points until you arrive at wherever you arrive. A computer can obviously do that. That's fine. Overly complicated, overly engineered, so be it, fine, whatever. But the point is, with modern stuff, it's easier to develop what that perfect version would be, as opposed to a vintage card where it simply doesn't exist and you really have to manufacture it. A 52 tops manual that's perfect in every way does not exist. So you basically have to go in Photoshop and really just make something up.
Mm.
So that would be more difficult. Not impossible, but certainly think of how much work you would have to do and how many 52 tops manual you're actually going to get a chance to grade as an unproven third-party grader that no one's ever heard of. So putting the amount of energy required to develop that perfect version to measure it against is a lot of work for almost no payoff.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand that piece of it, but it's like, well, you came up with the business model that requires this. It's kind of dumb.
So in other words, this is not a card that they would grade.
Nope. If it's prior to 2009.
So that's the most recent pickup.
There you go. Out of 25.
Yep. So now I technically have the full rainbow.
Nice. Congratulations.
And this was the 2001 that I picked up recently, Dave. You're saying the 2000 is nice? Donors Elite status?
Yes.
This is that die cut. I kind of got a good deal on it, but there is like a dent up here. It's a ComC special.
Okay.
Nice.
Just wanted the card type of thing.
Sometimes when it's in the PC, you're not as hyper focused on condition. You want a good condition, but you're more apt to potentially get something in the collection just to get a copy of the card.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm going to test your 2005 football knowledge.
2005.
Aaron Rodgers rookie year.
Donruss Zenith, the Canton bound insert out of 100. You ever seen those? Dufex out the wing wang, and then
I'm
it
sure
is numbered right there to
I-
100.
Mm.
But
There's
yeah,
got to be like I'd imagine there's got to be a base one too, like a red or a blue or something, not numbered, or it's like numbered to 1,000. That might be like a.
never saw these before until then. It was under $30 for a number to 100. I'll take that.
As you should. I mean, that's cheap.
We like Dufex. Well,
Well,
I'm speaking for myself.
so this is a nice cheap one, but look at this card that you can get in 99 Fleer Ultra Wondrous. This is like a $5 card, but
Yep.
so nice, man. Clear focus, actually.
Looks like Lethal Weapon Superpower.
What was that, Bob? Canton bound?
Yep, 2005 Zenith.
There is a silver version of that. There's an unnumbered.
Is that numbered?
Unnumbered for silver, and then the golds are 100. So I had to open it up.
Putting it to use, Dave. Putting it to use. Good job. Good job. Linchpins.
Where'd you get that one? What's that one?
In the collection forever.
We all know where it came from, Dave.
Where?
It came from you. We all know it came from you.
It was delivered by horse and buggy.
Well, think of the journey it had to get to go all the way to Norway. For goodness sake, that's a trip.
Western Norway.
Think about it. I like Mike's comment from earlier. It's like, I don't own a Canadian flag, Mike. All I got is this. I'll just wave this around. I'll probably wear my Canada Day Jays jersey, so that'll be my concession to that. I accept Canada with great reluctance.
Of course, I'll be honest. I missed the Stars flag.
There you go.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
This guy
Yeah.
Yeah.
still here, just on the
Oh, I
side, different angle.
I figured it was there. I knew you rearranged and everything else, but we were always so used to
to the stars flag.
Yeah. It ended up working out. Like I always left it in the same spot. It's still on the same wall, but this angle is much better for as a background. This is a little bit better. The older videos, the folks that know, it's like it's still in the same wall that it was always in, but it was literally just in a corner right up against the wall.
Is your room hot in the summer?
When the humidity kicks in, oh yeah, for sure.
Winter?
Yeah, when the humidity kicks in, for sure. The main floor here because it doesn't have, other than I've got this thing here, and it works, but it's one of those things where you have to have it on for a while. It's loud as hell. It does work, but yeah, basically the main floor gets super hot in the summer. When the humidity really kicks in, it's super hot. So when I'm doing this, it's like I'm just boiling alive slowly, and then during the wintertime, I'm freezing to death. It's always one or the other. So the extremes most of the time.
So hobby hard in the spring and fall, basically.
It's listen, at that point it's like I will not hear any complaints. It gets hotter in here than it is outside. I go outside to cool down.
It's true.
Yeah, thankfully up here it hasn't been as hot as it was last year. 'Cause, I mean, I remember last year just baking, and this was starting at the beginning of May, which never happens. Because I know there's days that we were hotter than Texas up here because it'd be like 98, and Steve would send over, well, it's like 91 down here, and I'm like, and it's humid up here too, so it's like, this isn't the Bayou, this isn't DC category area. This is northern Minnesota, north of the Toronto Metro, on the latitude, longitude, whatever it is. It's like this. It should not be this way. There should be moderate, temperate, 72 degrees with a slight breeze and partly cloudy weather, not 95. Like I walk outside 2 steps and it feels like I just slimed out of a pool. It's like, come on now.
Hey,
This
we had a
year-
cold front. We only got to 88 today.
There you go. Well, I think the old joke with Southern Ontario was always that there's hotter places, there's colder places. What we have is we have a good range on the extremes. That's usually like our deal. Our deal is like, well, there are a few places that'll get as hot and as cold within the same calendar year. You know, we'll shoot high end and low end. Because it gets hotter over here, I think the most extreme break between the two, if I convert it over to your Fahrenheit, is comfortably below 0 inside the building. So basically 20, 28, 25 inside this room. And then go up to 105, 106 inside this room with pure humidity. Basically just a wall of humidity.
Hey, hockey guys, who is one of the? He's between the bench guy, kind of knows everything about junior hockey and guys from, northern Canada that nobody else talks about or knows about. He knows, like, they always calls them by their full name. He calls like Chris Letang, Christopher Letang. Heck, he's kind of coached here and there.
Are you talking about Pierre McGuire?
Pierre McGuire, right. So
that was just a guess on my part. I assume that's what you were talking about.
Thank you. He was on the local radio recently, and back in hockey season, I was telling a story up in Winnipeg. I guess super cold up there, 40 below or 30 below or something. Basically, he pulled into the parking lot. There was a handful of cars there. Somebody maintaining the lot told him to just leave his car running because that guy wasn't coming back to give him a jump or help him at all. Basically, he's like, just leave it running. Is that a thing, really?
Yep. Especially with a semi truck, because it'll gel up in that type of weather. If they're delivering they will not shut the truck off, or they will not restart it. It will not restart. And then most of the time, again, a newer vehicle, it won't matter as much. It's just people want to keep it warm, so when they get in, it's like going into a sauna from 40, 50 below. But yeah, it's a thing.
Ooh.
I just remember it was years ago. I remember that the news had a thing where we had like a big blizzard, like a big ice storm, snowstorm thing. And what happened was a bunch of folks tried to brave it, and they went down the highways, and they were trying to get, but they got to a certain point where it was so bad, where they basically got stuck. And eventually the help came, but they basically said, well, like, leave it. We'll get you out of there, but you're leaving the truck, leave the cars, So what happened is after the ice storm kind of blew over, they had to go back and like dig a series of trucks, semi-tractor trailers, and buses and all kinds of things. They had to dig them out, and they're all just sitting there like completely snowed and plowed over. And it's like, we'll dig it out eventually. Don't worry. Maybe if it thaws a little more, we can get to it. It's just on the highway. You just literally have this wall of like trucks and things. It's like once it got stuck, it got stuck. We're not digging it out. You can come with us. We'll get you out of here. But that's all we're gonna do.
I want to ask Vinny where he was in '93. We had a pretty huge blizzard this way, and that's what we had to do for my mom's car. She was scared to drive it. She left it at the bank when we went to get it after the snow was over. Just not even there anymore. Just big snow drifts, and the car is buried under it.
Yep, Paul would know. Where Paul is, a lot of times they got super cold weather, so they would know.
It's just like a Tuesday for Paul.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, well, there was one message he sent, and it was on Instagram. He sent it was one of his stories or whatever, and it was a screenshot of the temperature.
Yeah,
and it was -32 Celsius. Well, guess what? -32 Celsius. It's -32 Fahrenheit.
Yep.
I'm like, that's freaking cold.
Yep. That's why I say, like, there's parts of the Southern Ontario has big extremes, but like in Alberta, it can get like in Alberta the temperature can absolutely plunge.
Yeah.
That's why there was somebody who was I think somebody who was asking in the chat, and I think it's one of the guys who always asks like really random questions. He goes, "Random question: where would you rather live, Edmonton or Calgary?" I'm like, neither, if I can choose. None of the above. But if you force me and put a gun to my head, Edmonton, just because at least I've been there, I know a little bit about it. But it's like it gets cold as hell there, like super cold.
Yeah, I think the coldest I've had up in Ely, because I know Tower, which is about half hour from here, I think in 95 or 96 in like early February, it was like 61, 62 below. And up here, and that was without the wind chill.
Yep.
Up here, I think it was a balmy 57, 56 below.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might cancel school. Now, if it's in that 30 below range, they're canceling. I'm like, man, not to sound like 80 years, 100 years ago. In my day, we went both ways, 100 below and 110 on the way back. Like, no, we'd go to school, it's 40 below, then you had the wind chill, it was like 55, 60 below. Like, don't fucking stand outside, because in about 5 minutes, you'll start getting frostbite.
Yeah.
Just use your brain.
Yeah.
It's like
it was funny because it wasn't quite that cold, but I remember in elementary school, like they were. I think in the district we were in, they were particularly stubborn. It was very odd. And I remember walking back from school a couple of times, like it was literally a blizzard. I'm like, you're idiots. And the problem is where I was close enough where you're not in bus range. So it's one of those things where it's like, actually, it's like you kind of, if you can't get a lift or whatever, you're gonna have to kind of walk. I was like, oh man, come on. So I remember like walking through. It's like you can't see. It's like fortunately I know all those streets well enough, so I can kind of guide my way through. So you have to kind of like go from station to station and work your way down. It's like, and then you get inside, and you're like, shut the door, and it's like, all right, enough of that. We're done today. I'm not tolerating that shit today. If it's like that, it's like I'm staying inside. See y'all in July.
And that'd always be the days that people would come out to the grocery store. It's like you just want to see who else is out, who else is dumb enough to come out and shop when it's 51 below. It's like you really need to pick up a paper to tell you it's cold.
Is that where you get like mirrors and just leave them there at the front register? It's like, you want to see who's dumb enough to do it? Here's a mirror. Take a look.
Well, you hear, oh, it's cold outside. It's like, no shit. Do you think I teleported in here? I mean, I'm aware. I waited for the car to warm up for 20 minutes, so I'm aware that it's cold. I figured this out already, believe it or not. And then when it was 3:45 or whatever, when I came to work, it was even colder now because you've got that orb in the sky. It does a little. It warms it up to 45 below. It's like, it was colder this morning. Oh man, it must have been. Things stay the same. I mean, you think they change, but no, they don't. It's darkness isn't. It's not warm out when it's dark in the winter. It's like,
But it's
Sure
always,
it is. Sure it is.
but it's always fun though when you get the folks that like are almost competing.
Mhm.
That's why I always made the joke about it's like I'm in Canada with great reluctance. It's like that's like no, I'm here because it would be very inconvenient for me to move unless I have a very specific spot I want to be. If that's the
Mhm.
case, then that's the case. But otherwise, it's like they'll be like, oh man, I remember when it's this cold and this cold. It's like, yeah, I remember it too. It sucked. I don't actually want to fondly remember when I almost froze to death. That was not pleasant. It was not a good time. I didn't enjoy myself that day. I do remember, yes.
I walked a block and it literally felt like I fell on 100 panes of glass on my thighs because it hurt that much from the wind. Oh, what days those were. Oh, what?
I think in some perverse way they actually like get pleasure thinking about it. Like, oh man, I remember when I was in like horrific pain, and I'm like, why is this something you enjoy reminiscing about? Of all the things you could be thinking about, this is what you want to. Man, I remember. It's like, yeah, so do I. I'm trying to forget. Thank you.
Trying to flush those memories away, not relive them daily because
The one,
excruciating pain. Oh man.
the one perk of working from home, Dave, is that the only time you have to talk to a lot of the folks is when a scheduled meeting is, and it's like unless there's a purpose for us to have it, just send me an email. Just send me an email unless we absolutely have to talk about it. And if we have to talk about it, odds are I can probably get this conversation done in about 5 minutes. We can figure out what we need to figure out, and then we're off the call, and then I go back to just dealing with my own business.
So I say I wish grocery store folks could work from home. I would have done that years ago to avoid the general populace because again you work retail, as you know, the people don't get smarter.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I told my brother years ago when he was in he went from fast food to retail, and I was like, and I told him, it's like you don't have an excuse. I had a history degree, and I'm doing my gig now. You just decided not to apply yourself in any way, shape, or form. So every time he comes back from work and complains about it, it's like, you did this yourself. Like you saw literally in your same family there was a way out. You chose not to do that. So enjoy. This is your reward.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very
It's
true.
not like I couldn't have told him how to do it. It's like it's not easy, but it's taken me years and years and years to get to the point I'm at now. But it's like it can be done, but you're gonna have to put in the work ahead of time.
Hashtag facts.
Yeah. So at that point, it's like no sympathy for me. In fairness, you would have gotten any sympathy from me anyway. But less so, even less so.
Right. So, Dave, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark. Trying to stay consistent. Carlos, we'll leave the long streams to you these days.
These are the rumors I hear.
No, these are hashtag facts. You can't argue these, Carlos.
Longest relative. Andy asked me what my longest stream was, and I said 7.5. So these days we cut it down by almost 50%.
I was there.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You represent the high watermark of the long live stream in that format.
And I told you, and I remember
Shut up.
saying, "You watch us. You're going to set the record tonight." No. And then the morning.
Well, in fairness, the record has since been broken. There was one person who did an 8.5, and I was on that one for the last 3 and change.
Who was it?
Sports Card Anonymous.
Okay.
Yeah, it was it was one of the. I think it was the anniversary live stream or something. I forget what the exact there was like an occasion or something. I forget what the exact was. But yeah, he did it, and then at one point he pinged me and asked me if I would come on. I came on, and then 3 hours later it was still going.
It's still one of those. As far as our inner circle is concerned, it's still the record from our perspective.
I think for most intents and purposes, I would still stand on that one being, because it wasn't 7.5 wasted hours.
Yeah,
We didn't just spend the time staring at each other, and there was very little downtime in between. There was like topic to topic to topic, discussion to discussion to discussion. So I actually stand behind it, and I think it was an excellent stream. And to give him credit, in the spirit of giving people credit, Steve was a great guest for that one because we had a lot to talk about. He showed cards. We talked about all kinds of stuff. That's what I mean. Like it was. I'll stand behind it. If somebody has the time to sit there, watch it in pieces. It's actually a good stream. It stands up. I'll vouch for that one any day.
Yep. And we called in Mike the closer, and he helped close us down.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, I've been very happy that we've gotten to the point. Like, the problem is now, what I laugh is that now, like, a 3.5, 4 hour stream is like an average stream nowadays. But it's like, that is long. I acknowledge that is long. There's a reason I kind of kicked it back an hour earlier on Fridays now. It's like, I actually want to finish a little earlier.
But on the flip side, it's still, I mean, they mesh. They just, they go. So it works.
Yeah.
And we all know Dave and I could go on for the same amount of time, but it's trying to be more consistent and be cognizant of the fact of knowing that Dave has to get up earlier in the morning, so on and so forth. So we all know we all can last a very long time when it comes to these things, but why?
Well, that was the thing. It's like, it shouldn't be a thing where you're just doing it for the hell of it. It's like that story about, man, remember how cold it was? Man, remember how long that last stream? It's like, why? No, it's not a contest. If it serves a purpose, so be it. If the conversation gets there, so be it. That's fine. That's okay. But if you're just stretching it out just to stretch it out for time, it's like, don't do that. Why?
No.
So since we are coming up on the 2 hours, Bob has obviously disappeared. He may be there even after we close up shop. But Vinny, any last thoughts from your perspective?
Just to check out the Ray from Philly thing from HobbyPalooza, because he's doing all 4 sports now for the Hall of Fame. He's going to do baseball in July, football around the Super Bowl, basketball in September, and hockey in mid-November. So that's, I don't know, it sounded really interesting. And he's looking for people to get involved, so I might just do that for the hockey one. So
Nice.
sounds like a good one.
I'd asked Bob if he had any closing thoughts or opinions, but have a good one, Mike. Thanks for popping in. Carlos,
Easy, Mike. Sorry?
I mean, any closing thoughts from you as it pertains to HobbyPalooza or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I would say it was very interesting. It was an interesting experience. I was good with what we got to do, considering the limitations that we had to kind of understand and work within. It's still something that I wouldn't want to be a host for, just because it's not my format. It's not really the way that I would want to do it. But as a guest, it was fun. As a guest, it was fun if you've got somebody that you're comfortable talking to and working with. So I think that's good. And I think that's really I think that maybe is the takeaway. We'll have to see kind of what they have to do to adjust and adapt. I understood, like mentioned earlier, I understood why they did it on that channel. It does offer you a certain amount of control. If you're doing a certain charity thing, you can actually see the donations come in and all that. Because even if all the channels could do it, well, then how do you split it? How do you work on the tax implications? Like, there's a lot involved in trying to get it. So I understood. And doing individual StreamYard links allows people to be on kind of figuring stuff out ahead of time on their own before you ever hit the go live. So that's kind of a good way of kind of doing things. And if you do coordinate, you can moderate it a little bit, which is actually a very handy thing to have. So I got the benefits of it. Maybe the big thing, honestly, the only thing I would do is, if it was me, if you're going to follow a similar format, is maybe vet a little bit more carefully if something is a blatant infomercial and just be like 9.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody, I can joke about it till blue in the face, and I will. Oh, and I will. But nobody enjoyed it. It wasn't like beneficial for anyone. It became kind of the butt of the jokes. Online and offline, if you follow my meaning. But like nobody respected that was being done. It was one of those things like, come on, that's BS. Even the people that were polite enough not to say anything, it was like, that is BS. Like, That's not it's not the venue. Don't usurp it. If you're gonna host, don't usurp it for your own personal agenda to pass along some, especially when you've already been beating that dead horse into the ground. It's not even glue anymore. The glue is expired. We're done with the glue. The glue's gone.
Well, needless to say, I think that submits his not coming back next year. I would think.
One would hope, but you never know. You just I don't know what the I won't speak to what the qualifications are, who's vetted and who's not vetted, who's allowed to do what, but I have no idea.
Yeah, who knows? Since none of us have hosted, we can't speak to that anyways. And to answer the last question, why do you think we go off camera from time to time? That's when we actually go to the bathroom.
Well, that was the biggest advantage of when I started having the roving cast of like rotating characters, especially since a couple of them already, like Bobby can sit there and chat for a little bit. We let Eric speak of the Boston Bruins. People sleep for a couple of minutes. They can power nap during that. That's great. But they can do that on their own, and I can pop off and come back on, and pop off and come back on, and they can take a breather, come back, and it doesn't force anybody to sit there the whole time. You could do it, but again, you're doing this weird, like, hey, this is how long I stayed on without going to the bathroom. It's like, why? That seems uncomfortable for no reason.
Exactly.
It's like, I like to also refill my drink. So that's my opportunity to do that as well. So it's like, I'm going to do that.
Yep. So, Dave, wrap us up. And I guess, so Bob, if you're still there, all I did was drop you down since you hadn't been on video for a while. You were still there.
If he had at least left chair in charge, it would have been all right.
But I didn't like kick you. You were just reduced. But just throwing that out there, letting you know.
I think he's still planning the cardboard after party, so he might be trying to join it right now.
This is true too.
It's like, it's only a couple of days late, but we're almost there. We've almost got it. Technical issues have almost been resolved.
There you go. All right, Dave, wrap us up, my friend.
I want to thank Carlos, Robert, of course, the esteemed chair, for joining us. Talking about this again. I know some people think that might go one direction, not the group, but try as we might to keep it positive. Again, a shock, constructive criticism. Again, we want our community to grow as much as it can. We the more knowledge and the more hashtag scholarship that's in our corner of the community, the better I think it is for everyone in the end. Thank you for all piping in, joining us, watching us. Again, super solid viewership through the night.
The headband sells it. The headband really sells it.
I think I'm going to make these wardrobe changes my thing now.
It could be. I think Bob, if you commit to the bit, I really think that could be your new deal. But I'd actually like you to try maybe different flags in the background too.
I got a Puerto Rican flag and an American flag.
Well, it's just a start. That's 3. That's a starting point.
Get like a Pennsylvania state flag. Go find one of those at the city hall, and well,
Got
now it's
one.
mine. So there you go.
Randomly intersperse a pirate flag. If you could get the skull and crossbones going, that'd be kind of fun.
Note to
that's
self:
tiny, though.
create IRP flag. Note to self.
It can be
Yeah, I'm
acid.
feeling like a missed opportunity not to have the IRP in the background of my dream on Saturday.
The next time I have you on, though, Bob, we'll plan it out ahead of time. The next time I have you on, just for old time's sake, though, I expect a cameo from Dapsman.
Oh, he's here.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, we might have to have a
Doesn't have
Dapsman
much
cameo.
to say right now, so.
Well, these days, look, Dapsman is going to need all the help he can get. He spent like $10,000 on a stupid Star Wars card, so he's going to need something.
He was the Zion guy too, right?
I think so. Yeah, something like that.
15 Zions at 900 a piece or something.
Yeah, something like that. So look, I've done what I can. I took this poor boy and I gave him his moniker, and he coasts with it to this day.
Just crashed into the wall. That's all he did.
Like I can't fix it. I gave him a moniker. It's a good moniker. People remember it, and they bring it up to me from time to time. So it's a good moniker. But it's like I can't fix stupid. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do with that?
The old adage: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah, it's like frankly, I've already overachieved with what I was given.
You can't polish a turd.
This is true. Can't put makeup on a pig. You can, but I mean.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, you better wrap it up, Dave, because I think in about 2 minutes, if you don't, I think Jeremy's going to be on. I think he's somehow going to appear here, and it's going to be a tag ad. I'm not sure how, but it's going to be a tag ad.
It'll happen. So again, thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Robert and Chair, joining us. Good discussion again. That's what we're about. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you want. Tell your friends. Post us on MySpace. Send us money, preferably that cryptocurrency wallet that's starting to fade, like a January sunset at 3 p.m.
It's not actually a bad time. I've been buying a little crypto. It feels like if it's going to be cheaper, I'll buy some.
Send us whatever you want, except polished turds. We don't need those. And watch us. Watch Carlos every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Hopefully Robert and Mr. Stope do another cardboard podcast or just an impromptu hangout. Those are always fun.
I've been told their schedule is now lining up with leap years. They've committed to it. Leap years, guys. It's coming.
Election years, actually. That's what we're focusing on.
We'll see which one you can remember. It doesn't really matter. As long as you manage one or the other, it's like something.
So, thank you again for Vinny, for Steve, for Carlo, for Robert, for Chair. I'm Dave. This has been the Instant Revolution podcast. Remember, collecting cards, that's absolutely wonderful. The friendships you forge while collecting those cards, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.